I got into Stanford med school, and my stepmother broke my arm, so I couldn't go. I took her to court. Hi, I'm Nate, 26, and the day I opened my Stanford medical school acceptance email was the day my stepmother snapped and literally broke my arm. I always knew Denise didn't like me. She masked it with tight smiles and passive digs, but it was there. Still, I never imagined she'd get violent. That's the kind of thing that happens to other people, not to guys like me who keep their heads down and their transcripts clean. Not in our kitchen, not while her son Tyler sat 2 feet away, scrolling through his phone like nothing was happening. But when she shoved me into the counter and I heard the bone crack hurt it, I knew everything was about to change. The fracture was just the start. This wasn't going to be one of those family arguments that blew over. No, this was war. The second I clicked that email, heart stopped. Congratulations. You've been accepted to Stanford School of Medicine, class of 20X. I blinked 3 times. Literally wiped my eyes like a cartoon character. I'd done it. Full ride. I was going to Stanford. I was going to be a doctor. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just said, "Oh my God." Tyler, 23, slouched on the couch, barely looked up. "What?" "I got in," I said, stunned. "Stanford. Full scholarship." Nothing. Just a shrug and a return to his phone. Classic Tyler, the man-child who dropped out of community college last semester and now existed as a permanent fixture on our couch, surrounded by Doritos, dust, and job interview excuses. My mom, real mom, not Denise, walked in from her nursing shift. Still in scrubs, hair tied back, eyes tired. She saw my face and instantly knew. "Ariana?" "Yes. I know Nate's a nickname. My full name's Nathaniel Ariana Jameson." "Long story, Stanford," I said. "Mom, I got in. I'm going." Her mouth dropped. Then she pulled me into a hug so tight I could feel her heartbeat. "Oh my God, baby. We're celebrating right now. Champagne." "Okay. Maybe sparkling cider." "Where's Denise?" "Grocery run," Tyler mumbled. 25. Minutes later, Denise walked in with her usual clatter of reusable bags and judgment. As soon as she saw me grinning, her expression turned to stone. "What's going on?" she asked, setting down a bag with surgical precision. "He got into Stanford," Mom beamed. "Full scholarship. My boy's going to be a doctor." Denise blinked. "Medical school?" "Yep," I said. "That's nice." She didn't look at me, just turned straight to Tyler. "Did you email that hiring manager like I asked?" "They're not hiring right now. You didn't even try." Her voice started to rise. "You've been sitting on that couch all day while your stepsister gets into some fancy school?" My mom stepped in. "Denise, let's not make this about Tyler. Let's celebrate." "Oh right. It's always about Ariana, isn't it?" "Perfect Ariana. Miss Full Ride." Meanwhile, my son is drowning and nobody gives a damn. "I care," Mom said. "Sure you do." It escalated from there. The insults got louder, the accusations more pointed. "Silver spoon, showing off. Must be nice to have everything handed to you." Except nothing was handed to me. I worked. I bled for this. And then out of nowhere, Denise stepped forward and shoved me hard. My left arm shot out to catch myself, connected with the granite edge of the kitchen counter. Snap. The pain was immediate and blinding, like electricity detonating inside my bones. I screamed. "You pushed her," my mom yelled. "She fell." Denise snapped, suddenly pale. Sirens, ice packs, splint, 911. I didn't want to believe it had happened, but it did. And when the doctor confirmed a full fracture my dominant arm 10 weeks before orientation, I realized my stepmother hadn't just assaulted me. She declared war on my future. The doctor was gentle, but his words weren't. "Complete radius fracture. Displaced. You'll need surgery, pins, screws, the whole toolkit." "How long to heal?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. 8 weeks minimum. Could be longer depending on rehab. Orientation was intense. If I couldn't write, examine, hold a stethoscope. Mom was already giving her statement to the police outside the curtain. She pushed him. I saw it. It wasn't an accident. And Denise? She was outside crying, trying to spin the whole thing. "I didn't mean to. He slipped. He startled me." Tyler, dead silent. The guy didn't even flinch. When the officer asked what he saw, he muttered, "She fell." My mom's face went white. "Tyler, you know that's not what happened. She tripped." Are you seriously lying right now? I snapped. The pain made me lightheaded, but anger cut through it. She didn't mean to hurt you, he said. She was just mad. That was the last straw. They moved me to a private room for pre-op. Mom sat in the chair next to me, wringing her hands. I should have seen it coming, she whispered. She's been on edge for months, making comments, comparing everything to Tyler. It's not your fault, but I let her treat you like this. For years, I kept the peace instead of protecting you. My best friend Kennedy showed up the next morning with tea, snacks, and fire in her eyes. Tell me we're pressing charges, she said. I don't know yet. She broke your arm, Nate. That's not just family drama. That's assault, Mr. Harrison. Her dad poked his head in. Your mom's downstairs. Looks like she hasn't slept. I haven't either. She's talking to a lawyer. A few hours later, Mom came in with red eyes and determination in her step. I just filed for divorce. I blinked. What? She pushed my child. That's the line. I let her blur every other one, but not this. That was the moment I realized. This wasn't just about my broken arm. This was about years of power plays. About Tyler being the golden boy and me being the threat. My success didn't just hurt Denise's pride, it unbalanced the whole fantasy she'd built around her son being the center of the universe. And now, her universe was cracking. But I wasn't done. The police needed an official statement. They had my mom's. They had Denise's sob story. They had Tyler's lies. But they didn't know about Dr. Phillips. 3 doors down, kitchen window facing ours. He'd been trimming his hedge when Denise lost it. And when the officer knocked on his door, he didn't just confirm everything he said. He'd heard Denise yell, "You think you're better than my son? You'll never be special." I wasn't just a victim. I was her target. And thanks to Dr. Phillips, now they had a witness. The moment Officer Thompson heard about Dr. Phillips, her entire posture changed. A direct witness? That strengthens the case significantly, she said. And if he heard her make verbal threats before the incident? That's intent. It wasn't just Denise's word against mine anymore. Now it was Denise vs. me, my mom, and a retired physician with 20/20ths hearing and a perfect view of our kitchen window. And just when I thought it couldn't twist any further, Mom dropped the bomb. Tyler's doubling down. He told the officers again that you slipped. Said Denise tried to catch you. Kennedy exploded. That's perjury. He saw her shove you. How is he still lying? Because it's his mom, said bitterly. And I'll never be his sister. Just the person who reminds him how much he's not doing. There was silence after that. Thick, tense. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat. You've got a clear case. If you want to press charges, this is the time. I stared at my cast. Bright blue, dominant arm. 8 weeks in this thing. No writing, no drawing, no typing. My entire career, on hold because someone couldn't handle the fact that I was getting out. Kennedy sat beside me, her voice quieter now. You didn't break this family. She did. By choosing jealousy over decency. You're not being cruel. You're being honest. That night, I made the call. Yes, I told the detective. I want to press charges. They arrested Denise the next morning. 2nd-degree assault. Tyler stood on the porch in disbelief as they cuffed his mother. This is insane, he yelled. She didn't mean to hurt you. She did hurt me, I replied. You just can't handle that your mom isn't who you thought she was. Denise looked deflated, not angry, just hollow, like someone who'd finally realized she wasn't going to scream her way out of this one. But of course, she tried. 3 days later, she requested a family meeting with Officer Thompson in the room to supervise. I showed up in my cast, Kennedy flanking me like a personal bodyguard. Denise was already seated, Tyler at her side, eyes low. I just want to say, Denise started, I'm sorry. Truly, what I did, it was terrible, but I was under a lot of stress. Tyler wasn't working. Your mom was constantly judging me. And then you succeeding like always. I didn't speak. I let her keep talking because I wanted to see how far she'd go before she blamed me again. You have to understand, she said, tears spilling. Every time you win, it feels like Tyler fails harder. It's like you're rubbing it in. And there it was. Not remorse. Just regret that I didn't break quietly. Officer Thompson's pen didn't stop moving. She didn't say a word, just noted every sentence like she was already preparing for trial. Denise leaned forward. Please, don't let this ruin our family. I finally spoke. You broke it the second you decided your son's ego was more important than my safety. And from the look on Tyler's face, I think, for the first time, he believed it too. After that meeting, things moved fast. Officer Thompson filed the report, and Denise was officially charged with second-degree assault and making criminal threats. Her court date was set. She was released on bond, but ordered to stay away from me. She moved in with her sister across town, which meant for the first time in years the house was quiet, except for Tyler. He still refused to admit what he'd seen. Claimed he wasn't really looking when it happened. Claimed his mom panicked, and I just lost balance. Every word felt like betrayal carved into stone. Mom sat me down one night, eyes red. He's my stepson. I helped raise him. But if he's going to lie under oath, I'll testify against him too. Nodded. You don't owe him anything if he won't even tell the truth. A week later, Kennedy and I went back to the house to pick up some of my books. As we walked in, Tyler was in the living room, feet up, game controller in hand. He didn't look up. I can't believe you're really going through with this, he said. I paused. You mean holding someone accountable for shoving me into a granite counter and breaking my arm? You're overreacting. She said she's sorry. No, she didn't, I snapped. She gave excuses. Big difference. He dropped the controller. You don't get it. You've always had it easy. Grades, scholarships, praise, all of it. Mom tried to balance things. Balance? I stepped closer. You mean sabotage. You flunk out of community college, and somehow that becomes my fault. How? She just wanted someone to see Tyler was struggling too. He muttered. I saw it, I said. We all saw it. But struggle isn't an excuse for violence. It never was. Kennedy gave him a long look. You know what's wild? You could have chosen to step up. You could have said, what happened to Nate was wrong. Instead, you chose to lie. You're just his little attack dog. Tyler said flat. No, Kennedy replied. I'm the one who's going to be there when he gets his white coat, and you're still blaming the world from your couch. Tyler stood, jaw clenched, but he didn't respond. I picked up my textbooks, still in a box near the hallway. As I turned to leave, I glanced back. You had a choice, Tyler, this whole time, and you keep making the wrong one. 2 days later, we got a call. The DA's office wanted to offer Denise a plea deal, plead guilty to reduced charges and avoid jail if she agreed to probation, counseling, and community service. I was stunned. She broke my arm, I told the prosecutor, and threatened me afterward. Why would I agree to that? Because trials are messy, the assistant DA explained, and juries can surprise you. But if you want to push forward, we'll support you. I hung up, stared at the cast on my arm, and realized I didn't want revenge. I wanted accountability, real, public, undeniable. So I said, no deal. We were going to trial. The courtroom smelled like stale air and anxiety. I sat at the front beside my attorney, cast still visible, even though the fracture had mostly healed. Denise sat 2 rows behind us, flanked by her sister and of course Tyler, dressed in the world's saddest attempt at courtroom formal, wrinkled shirt, no tie, and that same blank stare I'd seen since the day it happened. She didn't look at me, not once. The trial opened with the prosecution laying everything out clearly. The shove, the broken arm, the verbal threats, and most importantly, Dr. Phillips, who calmly explained what he saw from his kitchen window. I heard her yelling, something like, "You think you're better than my son?" And then she shoved him, hard. It wasn't subtle. The defense tried everything. They called it a misunderstanding, claimed Denise was simply reacting during an emotional argument, said I slipped, said I overreacted. But every time they twisted the story, someone untwisted it. Mom, detailing how Denise had been antagonizing me for months, growing more bitter every time I reached a new milestone. Dr. Rodriguez, the orthopedic surgeon, explaining the severity of the fracture and how close I came to permanently losing function. Even Kennedy, testifying about Denise's behavior in the weeks leading up, how she constantly undermined my success. Then came Denise's turn. She took the stand and wept full performance, claimed she had been under a lot of pressure, that she'd never meant to hurt me, that I had just fallen wrong. I love Nate, she said. I was just trying to defend my son from being belittled. I didn't push him. I reached for him. It was a tragic accident. And then the DA played the ace, They projected a transcript of Dr. Phillips' statement onto the screen, her exact words. "You think you're so special, don't you? You'll never be better than my son. You're not special." Then the shove. There was a shift in the room. Not dramatic. Just a collective sinking. The kind that happens when the lie is just too small for the truth. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. When we reconvened, Denise sat stiff and still. Her hands trembled, but her face remained locked in some version of pride. Tyler wouldn't even look up. The forewoman stood. "We find the defendant guilty on all counts." Denise exhaled like she'd been punched in the gut. Tyler put his hand on her back, but she shrugged it off. The judge didn't waste time. 18 months in county jail, he said firmly, followed by 3 years probation and mandatory anger management counseling. This court does not tolerate targeted violence masked as family conflict. This was not an accident. This was calculated, and just like that it was done. Inside the courthouse, Tyler finally walked over to me. "You got what you wanted. Happy now?" I stared at him. What I wanted was to not be assaulted in my own kitchen. But I guess we don't always get what we want. He shook his head, bitterness in every word. "You destroyed our family." "No," I said. "Your mother did. You just helped her finish the job." I turned and walked away, and this time, he didn't follow. 6 weeks later, I was standing in my tiny Stanford studio apartment, one-handedly unpacking a box of textbooks with Kennedy, reading the course catalog out loud. "Okay," she grinned. "You've got advanced anatomy at AM, clinical ethics after lunch, and, ooh, medical Spanish." I grunted, wrestling with the stubborn roll of packing tape. "I swear this tape is the real final exam." She laughed and tossed me scissors. "Use tools, future doctor. You've got to preserve that one functional wrist." It still felt surreal being here. My cast had come off last week. Dr. Rodriguez was right. The surgery went perfectly. Full function, 0 nerve damage, no long-term loss. But it wasn't just my arm that was healing. It was something deeper. I had made it, through rage, betrayal, a courtroom, and a stepmother who tried to twist my success into a threat. Kennedy flopped onto the mattress. "Think you'll ever talk to him again?" I didn't need to ask who she meant. "I doubt it," I said. "He made his choice. Even when he knew she was lying. He backed her. He'll come around one day." "Maybe," I said. "But by then, I won't be around to care." My phone buzzed. "Unknown number." Kennedy raised an eyebrow. "Do not tell me that's," I answered. "Hello, Nate. It's Tyler." I froze. Kennedy sat bolt upright. "I told you not to contact me," I said calmly. "I know," he said. "I'm not calling to fight. Just, Mom's been asking about you." From jail, I didn't say anything. She says she's sorry. Like, really sorry. Therapy's been making her face some stuff. She keeps saying she wants to talk to you. "No," I said. "Come on, man. Just one visit." "She broke my arm, Tyler." "I know. And I'm not defending her anymore. I think she's different now." I took a breath. "She might be," I said. "But I'm not." He was silent. "I'm not the kid who lived in your mother's shadow anymore. I'm not the backup plan. I'm not the punching bag. And I'm not giving her another piece of me just so she can feel better." "That's cold," he said. "No," replied. "That's finished." I hung up and blocked the number. Kennedy watched me, eyes searching. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Actually, yeah." I looked around my new apartment, tiny, cluttered, full of books and late-night caffeine potential. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. I picked up my white coat from the hanger by the door and ran my fingers across the embroidered name, Nathaniel A. Jameson, MD candidate. I smiled. "Orientation starts Monday," I said. "Let's go buy a stethoscope." Orientation week hit like a freight train. 7 straight days of lectures, labs, getting to know your cohort, icebreakers, and 300 pages of reading assignments that all somehow felt due immediately. But I loved it. Every minute. Even when I bombed a diagnostic quiz on day 2. I walked out smiling. I was here. After everything, after Denise, after the trial, after Tyler's betrayal, and made it to the place I used to dream about during midnight shifts at the campus library back home. And yet, the shadows still showed up sometimes. The first time I held a scalpel in the anatomy lab, I hesitated. Just for a second. My dominant hand, now fully healed, tensed instinctively. "Nate, you okay?" My lab partner, Jasmine, asked. I nodded. Yeah, just. Remembering how close I came to not being here. She didn't pry. Just passed me the forceps and said, "Well, good thing you are." One night after class, I FaceTimed Mom. She answered in her usual chaos wet hair, a mug of tea in one hand, the cat trying to eat her highlighters. "There's my future doctor," she grinned. "Still surviving." "Barely. I've seen you do harder things than this," she said. "This is just the part where you prove you belong." I hesitated. Tyler called again. Her face darkened. What did he want this time? He says Denise is different now, that she's in therapy, wants to apologize again. Asked me to visit. Mom set her mug down slowly. "And what did you say?" "That I'm done," she exhaled. "Good. She may be healing," I said, "but I don't need to stand in front of her for that process. I'm not her practice dummy." "No," she said softly. "You're not." I could see her eyes glisten. "You did everything right, Nate, even when we didn't protect you fast enough. I hope you never doubt that." "I don't," I said. "Not anymore." There was a pause, then she smiled. "I filed the final divorce papers last week. It's official." I blinked. "Really?" "Yep. Single, free, and very tempted to bleach the memory of that entire marriage with a bottle of Merlot." We laughed, genuinely laughed for the first time in what felt like a year. After we hung up, I sat by my tiny window overlooking the quad, stethoscope around my neck, coat draped over the chair, and for the first time in a long time, I felt free. Not just from Denise, or from Tyler. Free from the guilt I used to carry for being ambitious, for working hard, for wanting more. She tried to make me believe I didn't deserve the life I built. But now, I was living it. 3 months into med school, I got a letter, a real one. Envelope, handwritten. No return address, but the handwriting was familiar. I opened it slowly. "Nate, I don't know if you'll ever read this. Maybe you've already thrown it away. I wouldn't blame you. I've been in court-ordered therapy for 10 weeks. I used to think I was just stressed, that I snapped because life was hard. But my therapist said something last week that stuck with me. Jealousy is just grief with poor aim. I was grieving the life I wanted for my son, and instead of helping him build his own future, I tried to tear down yours. You didn't deserve that. No one does. I was cruel, violent. I failed both you and Tyler, and even though you may never forgive me, I needed to say this. I'm sorry. For the shove. For the years before it. For every time I made you feel like being exceptional was a threat instead of a triumph. I don't expect a reply. I just hope someday you can breathe without carrying my damage." Denise didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just read it twice, then folded it and slid it into my desk drawer. Kennedy found me on the quad later that day. "You good?" she asked. I handed her the envelope. She read in silence, then nodded. "That's a decent apology," she said. "Too bad it arrived after the court date." "She's trying," I said. "But that doesn't mean I owe her anything." "Exactly." I didn't send a response. But I didn't tear it up either. Some ghosts deserve a grave. Some just need distance. The fall semester rolled on. I aced my first 2 exams. Shadowed in the air for the first time. Practiced stitching on pigskin for 3 hours straight until my fingers cramped and loved every second. Mom came to visit in November. She brought cinnamon rolls, 3 tote bags of Costco snacks, and a frame. Opened it. Inside was my acceptance letter to Stanford and a photo of me in my white coat. "You're putting this on your wall," she said. "Right above your desk. Non-negotiable." I laughed. "Yes, ma'am." We stood there for a second, looking at the frame together. "You've come so far," she said. "And I hope you know nothing that woman did to you will ever define you." "I know," I said. "But it pushed me to define myself." That night, I sat at my desk, glancing up at that letter. The one that started it all. The arm she broke had healed. The damage she tried to do hadn't taken. The future she tried to rip away, I was living it. And the best part, I didn't have to apologize for it anymore.